The World Cup winner with arguably the best background story. Less than a year ago, Borussia Mönchengladbachs Christoph Kramer was still playing in the second division. His inclusion in Jogi Löw's World Cup squad came as a complete surprise. But because of a teammate's injury, he was in the starting lineup in the final at the Maracanã. But after just 17 minutes, he collided with Argentina's Ezequiel Garay and suffered a concussion. Kramer kept playing for a few minutes, but has few memories of that day. We asked him about them. The whole world watched the World Cup final, but you didn't.
Yeah, I watched it on TV afterward. Of course, it was a shame, if you can really say shame or anything negative about a day like that, because everything was really positive. I was in the starting lineup and was doing relatively well before I was forced to leave so early.
But what can you still remember from the game?
I remember everything up to the collision, and in the second half they let me back on the bench again. I remember all of that, but in between I've got amnesia. Those memories probably won't come back.
Now, this was all a little more than a month ago. Looking at it now, how has winning the World Cup changed you?
I'd say it hasn't changed me personally at all. I'm still the same person, still the same player, but I notice a greater respect. Why this is, I don't know, but people just come off a little bit odd in the way they relate to me.
However, for a while it didn't look like your career was headed toward the World Cup. I'm thinking about when you were 16 and were dumped by Leverkusen's youth team. Back then, did you still believe you'd be a success?
I believed I'd be successful. I've always believed in myself, but not this kind of success. I remember when I was 15 or 16, my goal was to make a living from football somehow. That was my motivation, because I remember a regional league match at Fortuna Düsseldorf. The atmosphere there was fantastic, and that became my goal. I couldn't have imagined how far beyond that things would go.
But back then, when you were dropped from the team, is it true you started a diary?
Well, diary is a big word. Let's just say that I jotted down a few thoughts after every game. My coach at the time suggested this, because he couldn't really remember his youth and the games he was in. And those are, of course, really great memories. Reading it brings back things I've sometimes forgotten, and that's great.
What do you write down?
Certain moments. As a kid, you'll often remember the day-to-day matters, but not the important things. We can have vivid images in our memory that we've seen when we were young, even if that moment was nothing special.
How important is memory in football?
I think it's very important. You always need to know where you come from, what you've done for it, and how it all came about. I also know that I'm very lucky in my career. I've been very ambitious, and I've worked hard. None of that is a matter of chance, even if pure luck has played a role. My notebook traces that quite well over the 7 years.
In football, there's a saying, you should only look forward, never back.
That's nonsense. In general, people only remember the good times, so they say everything was better in the past. That's why most people look back fondly on their school days. But they're only thinking about the nice things that happened, and they forget the day-to-day drudgery. It's a bit of a mistake.
A colleague of mine recently bet 10 euros that Gladbach would prevail in the league. Do you know how much he would win if they did?
320?
Not even close. 1,000 euros.
100 to 1.
Worth a go?
Well, I don't know if it's worth it. If Gladbach win the league, it would, but otherwise the 10 euros are gone, right? So I wouldn't put more than 10 euros on it.